Start YouTube. Start all, maybe? Hey, let's see. I'm trying to check our tech here yet again. Welcome back. Anybody who's joining me live here. Let me do a couple more things. Let's see if anybody's rolling in here. Okay, let's see. I think we're getting connected here. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Going live here again. Let's see what's happening here. Okay, hey, okay, people are rolling in. Sunny on the beach. Hi, my friend. Let's see. Abs by Sebian in the house. Nice. My chat is so low. I'm going to have to get my tech guy, my son Declan, to fix that because it's pretty low down. Hey, everybody. Welcome. I have a great evening. We're going to be here from 5 to 6 tonight. I've got a really great evening planned for us. Let's see. Hey, Muttalip and Prisma, John Kyle in the hizzy. I'm glad you all are here. Super exciting night I have planned here for us. So here's the plan for the night. We're going to let people roll in for the next few minutes. I'll take some questions from the chat. We'll just get to, saying hey to everybody here. And then what we will do is at 5:10, I am going to present the slideshow for this week. First time presenting it live. But if you don't know this about me, I used to be a college professor for a long time. So this should be an old skill we're bringing back instead of recording. So I'm super excited. No, Axel Squeeze. I do not want to hear that. Hijacker won today. Well, I'm glad you're here, my friend. That is, that's a decision in the right direction. So let's see. Good luck. Hello. Yes. Let's see who else is here. Low volume. I thought that earlier. I was trying with my microphone. I don't know what the deal is. Let me see if my tech guy is around. Let me see. Because let me see if I can. Let's see if this helps. Tell me if it gets better. Because, yeah, I should be recording. So it will record it. Now I have recording on. Okay, volume's fine. Good. Okay, better. Great. I just increased the gain. So hopefully I'm not blowing anybody's doors off. You know how that goes. Yep, I'm going to record the slideshow and we're going to, hopefully, if it goes well, we're going to make it into some of the weekly videos that I put out instead of recording them by myself. You can hear me? Okay, good. Hey from Kenya, Douglas. I'm so glad you're here. Mike from Indianapolis. Awesome. Thank you for joining me here tonight. Today, we are going to talk about air in the brain some more. We are also going to, which will lead into some discussions on SAD, which is sexual arousal dysfunction. It is Valentine's Day week, so I have a brain hack strategy that some people may cringe at, but it's going to be important for people to start rewiring the brain. Hey, memes for fun. I'm glad you're here. Alfonsina, hi, in the house. Alfonsina's on my team, so I'm very excited. She works with me, so I'm very excited that you're here. Okay, let's see. We're going to let people roll in. 5:10, we are going to hit the slideshow. We are still testing this out in terms of tech test. So Please show up in the chat and tell me if there's anything that I need to improve. Then after we do the slideshow, we're going to do more questions at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. We'll do questions for another 10 minutes. So please, if you have questions, you have thoughts, let me know because I'm here to answer them first and foremost. Then I have two segments for you tonight: Dr. Trish versus AI brain maps. I am super psyched and I've never done it before. So we're going to have to see how it goes. There could be A, human error. Number two, we just have no clue how it's going to go, but I'm excited. Then we're going to do a segment that's called Let's Talk About Brains, Baby. We're going to talk about brains in terms of sexual arousal dysfunction. We will do questions again, and then we'll wrap up at exactly 6 o'clock. So, um, okay, let's see. My Declan says he has no internet, so he won't be joining us. I'm just going to tell him I turned up the gain and I think I'm good. Okay, so let me get into the chat here and see what everybody's got going on. Switzerland, welcome, Swiss Marcus. Hello from Naptown. Nice. 22 days going strong, Jonathan. That is what I like to hear. So let's go. It's win or learn, right? So for the few people in here who told me that they have relapse yesterday, Muddalip. Let's break this down, my friend. Debrief yourself. Figure out what led you there and change something for the positive. Win or learn. We never give up, right? This is your one life, as far as we know. So this is your one life. So let's get serious about creating the life that you want and the life that you deserve. Elaine Jones from the UK. Hey, how are you? Key West. Jorge, one of my favorite places in the world, as you probably know. My bestie Chanel loves Key West, so that tends to be a place that we visit. Plus, it's kind of an easy jump to go chill out for a little bit. Yeah, my son is my audio guy. My son Declan is my tech guy. He put this whole thing together for me, which is really cool. I am also live streaming on Twitch. Hey, over there to my one viewer. Yes, I know, one viewer on Twitch, but I am super excited. Declan is going to be the face of the nonprofit that we are relaunching. It is called the Supernormal Project. So not only does he do all my tech, he is going to be helping young men through example. He's such a cool example of someone who's struggling with the algorithm, not explicit matter, but notifications and Instagram and YouTube and all of that. So he and I are doing a live event. It's going to be streamed on YouTube and on Twitch, so you can look for some promos that we're putting out so that you know about it. It's a 7-day live event. We're going live every single night from 5 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. Starts March 18th on the 1-year anniversary of my book, Mind Over Explicit Matter, which I know I have buried yet again under my journals. It is the 1-year anniversary of my precious uh, baby that I've put out into the world. So please get the book Mind Over Explicit Matter if you need it. My Twitch channel is named Dr. Trish Leigh, and it is a funny story that Declan named. If he's watching, he will probably be mad, but I think it's funny because he was here last week as Super Nor, and he named the Twitch channel for the nonprofit Super Nor, and he and I have been joking about it hardcore. Well, we're probably going to rename it. Super Normal was taken, so he couldn't do it. Okay, yeah, awesome. Bought the book on Audible. I'm so glad I recorded the book myself, which was really, really fun. Let's see. Curious how it was like a century ago. Some smut still existed either in the forms of magazine or burlesque houses. Yes, let me answer this question, then we're going to dive into the slideshow. Is that Oh, Christ Walker, welcome. Okay, so I have been saying this a lot lately is that this is the first time in human history that the vast majority of people's brains are basically being hijacked by explicit matter. Back in the day, it was the one guy who had a harem who'd be affected, right? And now it is every single person is being affected by the miswiring of the algorithm. And it's the vast majority of men that are being miswired by explicit matter. So, yes, you are very right. I have to say hey to my friend Sunny D in the house. Sunny, I'm so glad you're here. It's like old times, my friend. I'm getting back to doing lives, so I am so psyched that you are here. Oh, awesome, Sunny. That's so cool. Uh, I'm very glad that you are here tonight. Okay, we're going to stick to our times because I told you, as a college professor, I was really terrible at that. So let me just get my screen going here because I have to move my slideshow. The slideshow is going to be about 15 minutes. I'm not going to answer questions during it. I'm just going to present the slides that I have, old school university style. It's like you're sitting in the classroom with me. So I'm very excited about this. And we're going to go through the slides. And as we do, nope, I did it wrong. I have to move I'm about to share my 10,000 screens again. So let me just move my studio over here, my slides over here, and then we'll get rocking and rolling. Okay, so let me share my screen here for a second. Make sure I'm doing it right. Let's move my head down and we should be good to go. Okay, so this slideshow is called Your Arousal Isn't Broken. It's being hijacked. Now, we think of arousal as sexual arousal dysfunction, but I also want to point out this is baseline arousal that we're talking about. Arousal means how you feel and perform throughout the day. You're supposed to feel calm and alert all day long, right? And I know the vast majority of people don't. They feel wired, they feel tired. Those are arousal dysfunctions. If you feel numb, if you feel drained, if you feel stressed, arousal dysfunctions. So, if you're feeling any of these things, and if you feel the pull back to the screen, whether it be explicit matter, whether it be lots of YouTube videos or long form video, whether it be notifications, reels, um, seeking, scrolling, all of that is a dopamine behavior. It's a supernormal stimulus, which is why we're calling the nonprofit the Supernormal Project. I want you to know it's not broken. I work with so many people who think they are stuck and they will never perform sexually, but I would contend it's experience a healthy, intimate life or never feel good again. And I want you to know you indeed can. So, the hijack that we're talking about today is called prediction error. Prediction error basically is the algorithm will, keep you hooked by you're not sure if that next awesome thing is coming. And especially if you are wrapped up in explicit matter, you are looking for the next thing that delivers more dopamine into your brain. That's the hijack. The algorithm is engineered very specifically to do that to you. Explicit matter is very specifically engineered to keep you hooked and to not let you go. That's the hijack. The hijacker in the brain, which somebody had talked about, had referenced that they were hijacked yesterday. Um, what that means is the hijacker jumps into your car, the car of your life, and takes over the steering wheel and takes you on the off ramp and just takes you wherever that hijacker wants to take you, which is usually into isolation, into more content, into more explicit matter. Now, what this graph represents is that I probably can change this to a pointer, but I'm not going to. What this graph represents is that the yellow line is supposed to be healthy arousal. So, first, let's talk about just being excited to go somewhere. Then we'll make the correlation into sexual arousal, right? Let me think if I have anything cool coming up that I'm excited to do. My daughter jumps horses. She's really good. She's a talented equestrian. So she has a horse show coming up. So we're both very excited to go to that. The way that the excitement plays out is the building of anticipation slowly over time. And then we finally will go to the horse show. Hopefully she crushes it and gets a blue ribbon. Um, the last, she's in the top tier horse, like the class A shows, and her horse launched her off. So hopefully that doesn't happen. We have a new horse that she's riding, but the anticipation builds and then it drops slowly over time, right? she gets done, she wins, and we're all psyched. And then time passes, and that excitement, that joy, I'm going to call it, for a real life experience, the pleasure that goes along with it, and the happiness trifecta, which are the neurochemicals, they wear off and the feeling wears off over time. That's healthy arousal. So the same thing's supposed to happen in sexual arousal. So Valentine's Day is coming up. Maybe you've got a date planned with your honey. Hopefully you do. If you don't, let's get something going. I'll tell you what the Hubs has planned for us. So if you have a date planned, you're getting excited. You're going to go buy some roses. That anticipation's going up. You have dinner plans. You're going to go to a concert. You're hoping to have a healthy, intimate experience to share with your partner. And then after it, all of that joy and pleasure, the healthy levels of dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin for pleasure, joy, and connection will come down. Now, the red line is clearly the hijack. The red line is basically, because of the algorithm, your brain is being programmed for intensity, not for the anticipation and the building of pleasure, joy, and connection over time. It's looking for intensity. The notifications do it. Clearly, explicit matter does it. Um, Even, videos will do it. It keeps your brain hooked, and it goes from zero. It actually stagnates here. This is what it's showing. It doesn't build over time. You'll have some building, but then you stagnate, and then you need very high levels of stimulation, and it takes off like a rocket. But this leaves the brain stressed out. This has to do with prediction error in the algorithm. This is the hijack. This is impacting your baseline arousal. Your brain doesn't cascade in the way that it could or should for a healthy experience. Now, how does it play out in sexual arousal dysfunction? You want connection with your partner, but because the algorithm also miswires not only anticipation, it also is very performance oriented. So now people think of having a sexual experience as they have to perform. Clearly, explicit matter informs the experience this way too, because you've been watching performances for so long. Even on social media, you're watching people perform. If you know me, you know that I love Ed Sheeran. I think he's great. And he had a Netflix special on a little while ago. And for a person who doesn't watch a lot of content like that, it was so performative that I could hardly watch it because everything was scripted, which clearly none of it was naturally unfolding. Which someone told me the other day that when people get engaged, that now like the man brings a dress and gives it to the woman who goes and changes into this dress so that everything can look perfect for Instagram or for social media. That's performative. That is, you're being compared to other people and you're very much aware of it. You are comparing other people. This locks the brain in this prediction error mode. It locks it in stress and anxiety. Then, pleasure, even though desire is still in there, it can't cascade to the body. It's locked up in that red arrow that's off the charts. Okay, so intimacy becomes something that you watch, that you compare, and then you perform. So many people, I have to remind them, sex and intimacy is supposed to be an experience between two people. It's not a performance. Healthy partners don't want you to perform, they want you to be present and to stay with them. So, when it's approached in this way because it's trained in this way and the brain is miswired because of this hijack, real arousal shuts down under this type of observation or perceived observation. You don't feel safe enough to be able to allow the arousal to happen. And if you've heard me say this before, what we're talking about here is called sympathetic dominance. To be able to have healthy baseline arousal and then, of course, healthy sexual arousal, you have to have a combination of your system being on a bit sympathetic, but not sympathetic dominance, meaning there's enough activation there. You also need a lot of parasympathetic, which is rest and relax. You have to be relaxed enough to be able to be aroused. This is how arousal shuts down. Okay, so let me show you what the miswire looks like. We talked about this last week where now the signal gets distorted and it's all internalized. So, this miswire that I'm going to show you on a scientific study in just a second makes it so that you can't feel pleasure with another person, especially when you've been going back to the algorithm. Your brain becomes linked to the high stimulus of the supernormal stimuli, which is seeking and scrolling, performative videos, and then, of course, explicit matter. And we'll talk about the rewire in a second. So, for today, the miswire that we're going to talk about is reduced striatal activation. This is a research study that basically shows that the brain gets locked up in this prediction error and in this mode of being too stressed out to allow the healthy performance and experience. Now, this is the brain map that I am going to put into AI, and we're going to do Dr. Trish Leigh versus AI in just a little while. But this brain map shows very clearly what I have identified as drained brain. So, not only was the brain in strained brain for a long time, strained brain is the opposite brain pattern that we see here. Strained brain, basically, where it's blue, it's red in strained brain. Then, if you stay in that stressed out mode, your brain tips into drain brain, not enough arousal. We're looking at, and today I have a more complex map. This isn't the full map, but this is a more complex map than just the two heads that I've shown in the videos lately. I'm going to ramp up the complexity in the map so we can look at them together. So here we see these are the slower speeds at the top of the map. In the middle of the map is speeds that are called alpha. Low alpha is this yellowish greenish. You can see it looks like it's normalized or it's optimized, but it's not. It's actually running low. You can see that because there's so much blue and red elsewhere. In high alpha is very high, mostly across what are called the temporal lobes over the ears. The temporal lobes are areas that are known for emotional regulation, also auditory processing. A lot of the people that I work with that are addicted to pornography or have screen based addictions and are hooked on explicit matter, they also will struggle with tinnitus or tinnitus, ringing in the ears. Many people can feel sensations. It's because the temporal lobes are impacted. Also, across the frontal lobe, we know from fMRI studies I've already shared this year on this channel that the prefrontal cortex diminishes function and it even diminishes in structure, meaning that the brain structure decreases and the functioning decreases. Prefrontal cortex is what separates us from animals, it's the areas for thinking and what's called executive function. You can see this brain has a lot of high alpha. High alpha is neutral. It's basically numbed out, looking for stimulation. This is the brain pattern of dopamine dependency. I've recently completed a study of 200 brain maps showing that this is the brain map that is associated with porn induced erectile dysfunction. And I'm totally psyched to get it into the scientific literature. I just haven't had time. And I'm looking forward to getting time. So, this is why arousal shuts down when the brain stays on high alert for a long time. So, whether you know it or not, when you go back to the algorithm, whether it be explicit matter or at lower levels, you're accidentally locking your brain in a neurorigid pattern of high alert. So, here is your brain hack rewire for today. Now, I know, well, actually, the rewire brain hack's coming in a minute. What I want to share with you is that the rewire is absolutely uh, it's pivotal and it can happen. You can start with the brain hack strategies that I give you here. I'm also going to talk about the advanced technology, but you know how it starts. Stop comparing. Start connecting in the real world. Here's food for thought for you while you're out there listening to this slideshow. How much have you connected with real people in real life? We live such a screen based life this day. Modern living is really harsh on brains. So What we're talking about is we need to create more stability over constant stimulation. It's imperative to bring the system down and to try to give up a little on all the stimulation. What that does is it removes the threat from intimacy. So what we're talking about is threat detection. It also reduces the brain's constant alert mode. So threat detection leads to vigilance or hypervigilance, which we see in the brain pattern. And you can retrain your brain so you can feel safe, and then your arousal response can return. Okay, this is a recent graph. This is different than the ones that I've shared with you. This graph is within a session, and this is what I wanted to show you. This is high beta and beta, that stress response going up. This is what leads to drain brain. This is basically strain brain increasing over time, very much like that red arrow we saw on the hijack. Okay, here comes your brain hack for the day: relational gaze. I started to talk about this last week. When's the last time you sat and you looked at somebody in the eyes when you really connected with them? That's the goal for today. No touching. And then here, check this one out: no agenda, no outcome. In another video that I just recorded, there's a different brain hack where I talk about no judgment exposure. So, in this exercise, you also don't want to judge. And if you do judge yourself or the other person, take a look at that judgment and see what it's telling you. But this is about a time of being present and connecting with another person. And it may feel weird to you if you haven't really done that, because we do this all day long, right? Look into cameras, we look into screens, we sit next to each other. We don't connect with people through relational gaze. But brain's attuned, so this is really important. When you sit with another person and you gaze into their eyes for Valentine's Day, I'll have to remember to gaze into the hub's eyes when we go. We're going for dinner. He planned dinner with our besties. Chanel, who loves to go to Key West, we're not going to Key West. We're going to our favorite local hotspot. And it is actually a Valentine's Day themed dinner, which it has all these courses. It should be beautiful. And I haven't seen Chanel in a few weeks because she's been busy and then she wasn't feeling well. So it's going to be a really nice time to connect. And I will definitely be engaging in relational gaze with her. Cool thing about my friend group and about the hubs is that we're always trying to be, more grounded human beings. So we spend time connecting with each other. We will look each other in the eyes, and even at times when it feels uncomfortable, we'll stay there. So I encourage you to do that too. So what happens is, here's another visual reminding you that your brain controls your organs through the vagal nerve. Your brain is sending the signals to your sexual organs. This is how air in the brain causes SAD. So, air in the brain is arousal inhibition response. Air in the brain, basically the turning off of the arousal response. That is what causes SAD, sexual arousal dysfunction. It's also what changes your baseline arousal. You'll feel more anxious. You won't be able to focus. You'll feel numbed. You'll feel depressed. You'll feel lack of motivation. You won't be able to think. You won't be able to plan and organize those executive function skills. I want to remind you, your brain is the supercomputer that is controlling your mind and your body. And another visual. And so when you use the brain hack, grounded, embodied desire replaces urgency, and it replaces the need for very high dopamine spikes. Arousal becomes responsive. People confuse this after years or decades of consuming explicit matter, because basically pornography is portrayed in the exact opposite of healthy intimacy. Arousal is supposed to be a response. Going back to that second slide with the yellow line going up gradually over time, the anticipation and the response of getting excited. So, arousal in general, right? Thinking about going out on Saturday night. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to have to find myself a snazzy outfit. Probably not red. I'm not one of those people that wears the color that goes with the holiday, but I will look forward to that. And then when it comes to a sexual activity or a sexual or intimate um, time together, that sexual arousal should come online as a response. So if you're sitting at your computer and you feel sexually aroused, an urge or a craving, that's the miswiring from the hijack. That's your brain just looking for dopamine. It's not in response to a intimate activity or time that's about to happen. So remember that. And connection should feel embodied. It's your mind and your body are connected. And then, of course, if you are looking for more support, go over to drtrishleigh.com. You can schedule a meeting with me and we can check out your brain. Okay, now let us get back. We're timed pretty well, feeling pretty excited that my timing is on here. Let me just finagle a couple things here to find my chat again. Okay, let us see. Yep, the video will go out with subtitles. Let's see, everybody. I'm back in the chat. Okay, listen, my friend. Everybody can find eyes to look at. So take those cry emojis and turn that frown upside down. If you don't have anybody to gaze into their eyes now, that's a really good goal to set. But like I told one of my clients put on their intake paperwork that their goal was to create a joyful life. And you know what I said to him about 10,000 times, right? I said, dude, you cannot create a joyful life sitting in front of your computer. I'll tell you how you find some eyes to look at. Let me see, who is that? Inf INFP, true self. True self. I'm going to call you true self because that'll be easier. The best way to find eyes is to get into the world and connect with other people. It's really, really important. So get out there. Okay, let's see. Can I recommend a video I should watch to stop my addiction today? Read your Bible, 777. I'm glad you're here, my friend. Well, I have thousands of videos here. I think one of a good suggestion would be whatever you're struggling with. If you put it into the search on this channel, you will probably find a video for that very topic, and it will have a brain hack strategy to get you rolling. Oh, Sonny, I'm sorry to hear you're here for the wrong reasons, my friend, but I know you have the fortitude in there, so I'm glad you're here, and we'll get you back to it. Um, what should you avoid to heal PIED? What counts as porn to avoid? Amir, I'm glad you're here, my friend. Well, one thing I can tell you is that my book, it's not a shameless plug, but I might as well show you it. My book, Mind Over Explicit Matter, was actually originally entitled Mind Over Porn. And my son Declan, who I don't think is here because he's having internet issues, um, they wanted me to change it. And he and I went through the funniest 2 weeks of trying to find a better name than Mind Over Explicit Matter, because that's what they wanted me to call it. But I really wanted it called Mind Over Porn because I wanted it to reflect pornography. But now I love the name because explicit matter covers all the things that people are struggling with. So let me name them in no particular order. Porn proper, and of course, the more intense, is at the top of supernormal stimuli. But down from there, hypersexualized content of any kind. So hear that. Whether it be chat rooms, whether it be OnlyFans, whether it be sexualized content on Instagram or TikTok, whether it be long form videos that you're there for the wrong reason, here's how you figure that out. Why are you there? Why are you watching it? Whatever the video is, why are you there? When you answer that, then you know what qualifies as explicit matter. To be able to heal PIED, it's usually critical for people to step away from all high level dopamine screen based activities, especially if they're coupled with masturbation, because every time you go back to that content, you're desensitizing the D2 dopamine receptors in the brain. That's actually what leads to the high alpha that I showed you in the slideshow. So it's really, really important that you don't keep desensitizing your brain. So start there. That's another brain hack for our time here together. Really become aware of the why you're going back to different content. You want to go to content that empowers you, that motivates you. You want to follow people who are a little bit further ahead on the journey than you are. You want to be able to, you know, interact with people who are going to help you accomplish your goals and your dreams. If that's not the why, let's rethink that. How long does it take for dopamine to stabilize or to be normal? It's different for all people, but I can see it in people's brains when they work with me using brain mapping and the trend screens that I share here. So that's one reason why I want to share those images with you, because brains are all different, people's lives are different. There's so many different factors. The number of variables, which I also can rattle off a couple variables for you, stressors in your life, um, amount of sexualized content, amount of screen time overall. Then also on the other hand, I'm always helping people to find healthy dopamine producing activities in their real life. Do you have those? Because that will help dopamine stabilize and become linked to real world experiences. If you go to my website, you'll see that part of my program, I call it a pleasure pathway reset, another double entendre, which I love them, meaning that we're going to reset the pleasure pathways, those that I told you over the temporal lobes, feeding forward to the prefrontal cortex, but we're also going to reset the pleasure pathways in your life, get you connected back to real world activities, going back to um, I think it was True Self who said it, right? Oh, True Self, it was your comment too. You know, getting rid of those cry emojis. You've got to get out in the world and find healthy dopamine there. Okay, so let me see what we got going here. Okay. No, honey, I know you're going to go out there and you're going to find it. Hey, Kevin from the UK. How are you? I'm glad you're here, my friend. Benjamin in the house. Is it Black shop, bike shop, 20 days, going strong, my friend. Uh, yeah, I'm going to answer the questions. MHM, put them in here, my friend. Uh, yes, I understand that weird, wacky, wonderful. That's a cute handle. Um, if you struggle with autistic spectrum disorders, relational gaze is very difficult, but that also can be retrained. I have some friends who struggle with spectrum disorders. Plus, I've worked with people on the spectrum my whole professional life, which is too long to tell you how long that's been here in this here live. But it can be trained. You can practice it, and practicing these skills with someone safe is building the muscle of your brain. So you can practice it with someone safe, and baby steps, scaffolding, like we talked about last week. Yep, we're gonna release the video with subtitles. Okay, let me go down. Let me see. Sexual content in rated R movies, it's usually a no, Christ Walker. Main reason is because when the brain has been conditioned to spike the dopamine levels, which desensitize, which lead to high alpha, which leads to error in the brain, which leads to SAD. Most people on their road of recovery choose not to watch sexualized content, even in our videos, because they feel that spike in their brain. So, my A to your Q is that you probably don't want to do that. And when you are on the road to recovery, you'll feel it and you will decide that you don't want to do that. Hi Ray in the house. How are you? Oh, thank you, Kevin. I'm here. I'm a girl on a mission, and I am really trying to help people. So oh, learning Turkish, Erquin, that could be a challenge, my friend. But maybe. I'm not sure about that. But we can definitely put Turkish subtitles if you're interested. I used to put subtitles. I'm finding myself a napkin. You know how I write all my notes on napkins, and I'm going to write myself a note about Turkish subtitles because we definitely can do that. Okay, so let's see. Sexualized social media appears on the feed. Is that a relapse? No, not necessarily, but that is definitely a opportunity. It's an opportunity. Am I right, Jay Polar Bear? Because if sexual content is served to you, that is your sign to unfollow that person. And I've told the story, and I probably should come up with a new one because I've told the story before, but I have a client who rides motorcycles, followed a lot of motorcycle, enthusiasts on Instagram. And then one day, there's a scantily clad young woman on the motorcycle, and that was a hard unfollow for him. So, that's what you need to learn to do. This is your one and only brain that you get to use in your one and only life. And what I want you to do is to make it as healthy as possible and go out and have a blast. Go create the life that you want. Contribute to the world in an amazing way, like I'm trying to. Four people could be here. There might only be four people here. And I would still be here trying to help those people. This is super important to me. I have a blast doing it. I spend all day, every day, honestly, probably too much time. But then I can spend time with my five beautiful children, right? Find the life that you want. That's the life that I wanted. Not all people want, a gaggle of kids. Figure out what it is, get your brain healthy, and go rock it out. Okay, let's see. Orquat 3, brain drain and lack of sleep, busy taking care of everything, downtime, just can't handle quiet, rolling around late at night, 3 a.m., fight to stay asleep. Yes, what you are talking about is autonomic nervous system dysfunction. And that is at the core of strained brain and drained brain. So you are absolutely right that that is not the recipe that we're talking about here. What's important, so like I told you, I do spend probably too much time working, but I do balance my life. Today I air fried chicken. Declan actually taught me the recipe. I air fried chicken while I made myself a salad. I went and picked up my daughter. She and I had some laughs, and we were laughing. Actually, she's digitizing all the pictures from when my kids were young. So we laughed about that for a little bit. I worked out. It's gorgeous outside in North Carolina today, 67 degrees. Went out, squeezed in a workout, balance. And then I'm back here. That's what we're talking about here. Figure it out. Okay, let me see here. Okay, we're gonna go to our next segment, but let's see. T Games. Hey, my friend. Okay. Weightlifting. You can get addicted to weightlifting, but let's see. Okay, I'm going to come back to the questions because we want to do our next segment. So, let me make this bigger and see if I can. We are going to go to AI now. Now, the brain map pattern that I showed you, I have put into a basic AI. And let's see if I can get him to talk. And I've not used it on this one yet. So I'm going to tell you more about that brain map, and I will go back and pull it up for you so that we have it here. Let me just pull it over, and then we're going to see what he says about it. Now, the reason I wanted to do this segment is because so many people will say that they have put their brain map into AI before we meet. So let me pull this brain map up. I don't know what I got going on here with my pixels, or I did something, but we're going to leave it. And let's see if I can get him to give me, and if I can't get him to give me it verbally, then I will read what he says. Okay, allowing my microphone. Choose a voice. We'll choose Ember. We'll see. He's ready to hit the ground running, apparently. Ember, can you give me a one-line description of the brain map? Eh, that is not correct. So this is often confused. This is confused by other practitioners in the world of neuroregulation. This, in fact, is too much high alpha. What he's talking about is lots of alpha. So this goes back to our discussion, and it goes back to what somebody, I forget who it was, put in the comments, that this is the first time in history people can have too much alpha. Before that, it was limited. Now, every brain map I see has too much high alpha like this. Sometimes it's too much low alpha. It's primarily too much high alpha. And what that is that chat gets wrong and that AI gets wrong is he thinks it's, you know, very excellent levels of calm. Then also on that map, low beta shows that it's just a little high. So he's saying that the beta state is excellent. That is misconstrued brain map. And this is why the brain mapping systems don't even account for dopamine. I did a webinar today for a professional company that is a brain map company. I did a webinar early this morning. I know what you're thinking. I've been doing this all day. Yes, I have. I did a webinar this morning for professionals, and I said this to them that this is the first time in history we need to catch the database up. So especially for people with drained brain, they're likely going to get an incorrect brain map analysis through AI. So I want people to know if you have too much high alpha in the brain map, that's drained brain. That is associated with porn induced erectile dysfunction. It is associated with dopamine dependency. It's the need to go back for more dopamine from a supernormal stimulus. It's also associated with the D2 dopamine desensitization. This is across the temporal emotional regulation areas, the reward center in the middle, up through the frontal lobe. The left side of the frontal lobe is for attention and working memory. The right side is for impulse control and judgment. This will lead to more cravings. It will lead to decreased judgment to be able to forego those cravings. And most times, AI is going to get it wrong. Okay, so now let us go to our next segment for a minute, which I have not had a chance to work up a great image for this, but I'm going to try to pull up the one that okay, are you ready for it? This is the image I worked up, but this is not the branded image that I wanted. But here we go. You ready? Let's talk about brains, baby. All right, this is the George Michael segment that we are going to continue. Now, this slideshow is all on air in the brain, which leads to sexual arousal dysfunction. That will not always be the case. As we move into March, we're going to talk about sleep. So I want to make sure we keep talking about the fact that urges and cravings and what people perceive as libido or sexual arousal, this is all about a brain state. And it goes back to that image of how your brain connects to your sexual organs. So, we're going to be doing a segment here every Wednesday night in what I'm now calling After Hours Rewire. And we are going to continue to talk about how urges and cravings really has to do with brains and dopamine dependency. We're going to talk about how it's not at all about what you're feeling in your body. It starts with what you're feeling in your brain. Okay, so let's go back into the chat and see what we got going on here before we wrap up because we're doing great in time. We have 2 extra minutes. Um, Anthony, I provide brain mapping services. They're all online. You order clinical grade hardware, which is actually quite affordable. You can take your brain map at home. It takes 28 minutes. My team helps you. You and I get on a Zoom. I walk you through it. From there, if you're interested in joining my program, that I can use neuroregulation technology, advanced tech, to rewire your brain with you. That's a service that I offer, and it's all on my website at drtrishleigh.com. What do I do about insomnia due to quitting porn? Okay, now this is a good question. Insomnia due to quitting porn. First of all, if you just quit porn, Losh 17122, there's going to be, a withdrawal period and your brain is changing, it's recalibrating. The easiest brain hack, but I will tell you, or I guess most simple, because none of it's going to be easy. Using the technology is the easiest thing you can do because I help you rewire your brain. And oh, you couldn't hear the AI weird, wacky, wonder, fool. I will tell you what he said, so I'll go back. Yeah, and I will now know that doesn't work. So insomnia, you want to focus on your evening in your bedtime routine. It's what's happening in insomnia. Going back to the slideshow I showed you, there is actually an alpha type of insomnia. So for most people, that's what's at play. It also goes back to the high beta I showed you in that trend screen. High beta is very high. It's being artificially offset by all the alpha. So if you're following, if you're tracking, high beta is very fast brain speed. Alpha's neutral. So that's why you go to porn or explicit matter. You go there because your brain's ramped up, strained brain, and then it's also uh, in neutral. So you're spinning the wheels, but then you're giving it dopamine to basically take away the feeling of the spinning of the wheels. There's an alpha type of insomnia in your evening routine and your bedtime routine. You want to set your brain up for success, decreasing the fast speed and allowing your brain to catch the sleep cycle. We're going to go over all of that all of March, so stay with me here. But focus on your evening and your nighttime routine and don't use screens and especially explicit matter before bed. Um, was PIED a problem before internet sources? Great question, Benjamin. Um, it was not nearly a problem. There's many scientific studies that show that there has been a significant increase in pornography induced erectile dysfunction. There's been a significant increase in erectile dysfunction in young men since the dawn of high speed internet pornography. Now, the reason high speed internet pornography is important is one word and one word only. Then, of course, I'll give you a couple more: novelty. We know that novelty has a lot to do with raising the dopamine levels, the seeking, the searching. So when internet pornography came into play, this is why erectile dysfunction skyrocketed, because now you can click, any tab. You can have open as many tabs, and many people I work going. You can have high speed internet porn going all day, every day if you want. Many of the clients I work with, they will have pornography on in the middle of their Zoom meetings to get dopamine hits while they're working. That's how you know you really are dependent on dopamine to get through your day. When it comes to March, we're going to talk about morning and evening routines and why you don't want to give your brain lots and lots of dopamine to get the day started and to end the day, because you become dependent on those routines. So it has cranked up in high speed internet. Um, magazines were much lower level stimuli. They're not considered, these mega supernormal stimuli, so it wasn't nearly a problem. Yeah, my book is available at Barnes and Noble. I'm not sure if it's available at the Barnes and Noble near you, but it is available in some Barnes and Nobles. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I work with Anthony. I work with people all over the world, which is one of the, most fun things about my work is that everything is now online. So, as long as you have a relatively stable internet connection, obviously having a stable internet connection, if you're here, you can do it likely, because that's the main thing is we need internet. Let's see. Oh, okay. Sir Hart, your comments were in Turkish, but now they seem to be. I don't mean to pass them, my friend. I just couldn't read them. So if I can read them, I will go back to them. Stumbling on sexual content is not damaging compared to seeking sexual contact. In fact, if we stumble upon it but turn away from it, that can be more strengthening than never seeing it. I don't necessarily agree with that. Science doesn't agree with that, and I'll tell you why. Because we know for the most part, young people become addicted to explicit matter because they stumbled upon it. That stumbling upon releases high levels of dopamine, what I refer to as the seeds of addiction. Most people don't then have the ability to not come back because it is novel, it is exciting, it flooded their brain with dopamine, which made them feel good. And so then if there's no one directing them in a healthy direction, we know the vast majority of young people are now stumbling upon sexual content and staying there. And then it leads to a lifetime of compulsion because it changes the brain in the first two exposures. And I write about this in my book, Mind Over Explicit Matter. I write about it in that in the first exposure, there's a high dopamine flood, and the brain calibrates itself, recalibrates it to need more dopamine. That's the seeds of addiction. Then a person goes back the second time, it's already making more dopamine. And then if you go back a third, it's making even more dopamine. So it's producing more dopamine. So that's not necessarily true. Okay, let's see. My volume's still low for some people. Hopefully, okay. Okay, take someone's definitely on the turn from kicking the masturbation habit. I think it's basically just getting into things that you really enjoy in life. Well, for many people, again, in my book, I talk about classic versus contemporary types of behavioral compulsions. So, masturbation usually starts because it's linked to pornography consumption. Um, oh, thanks. Hey, I have to stop for a second because there is someone chatting over in Twitch. So, hello, Shino Leo. I am so glad you're here. So awesome. Thank you for joining me on Twitch because we're trying to get the live stream going on both services. And there's only a few people over there. So thank you. But what I was going to say is hang on, I lost my thought. Oh, about masturbation. Compulsive behaviors is that classic types of compulsions were more about soothing trauma, but that still holds true in contemporary. So your brain finds this high dopamine response, and then, like one of our friends here wrote, all I do is take care of business all day long, and it's very stressful, and then I need something to come down. We live in the most overstimulated time in the world. So many people are just grinding and then soothing. Other people are just soothing more and more and more. So, that really it is getting away from the bedroom and learning to get healthy dopamine out in the world. That's a large part of it, but it's also looking at how you've set up your life and your challenges and reducing your stressors to as little as you can, and then learning to build stress tolerance. The brain maps I've shared here tonight are low stress tolerance. They're brains that can handle stress very well. As a mom of 5 young adult children, the stories I can tell you of just the stuff that happened last weekend. And I said to the hubs, I'm like, I am very excited in my own progress because the me of 15 years ago would not have handled the things over the weekend. I have very high stress tolerance, meaning that stressors happen and I can deal with them from a place of peace because I'm regulated. Um, okay, so let's see, because we are going to wrap up in 2 minutes. Let's see what we've got going. Suffering with ED for the last 5 years, even if, oh, okay, you've been off for 20 days. Yes, it's going to help, but you need to stay off of pornography and self soothing um, as long as you can. If you've had erectile dysfunction for 5 years, there's a significant amount of dysregulation, which is actually dysfunction. You're not functioning um, in a healthy way in terms of your brain performance. So, I want you to know that you have to stay away from desensitizing. Habits to, okay, I love this. Ben's Vang, we're just going to call it Ben's Vang for uh, ease here. Is that last question? Because we are going to stick to our times, my friends, but I will be back next week. The last question we're going to do right now is to give some habits to implement in daily life to heal your brain for a 21-year-old male. Well, this applies to any age, but it really is about thinking intentionally about the life that you want to have. Put it on paper, write it down. Neuroscience shows when you write things down that you can create them more intentionally. What do you want your life to look like? Then you have to schedule it in. And I know if you've been consuming explicit matter for a long time, that executive function in the prefrontal cortex that might be challenged. That's why then you bring it down to the easiest step, the path of least resistance, the one thing you can do today. And then you do that thing, and then you reward yourself. Then you build the daily habits based on the identity, the life that you want. That's how you start. So you have to know what it is that you want. That's the first thing you can do. And then structure your life around it. And then you will feel joy, and you'll also have pleasure. But we want to create the life that you want here. Okay, let's see. No problem, my friends. Okay, I did tell you, let's see about the, okay, Moodle we've got you here. Okay, well, join me next week, and we are going to dive into more arousal for February and relationships. And I'm going to have an awesome, awesome Rewire After Hours show for you. So go into the next week, rock it out, stay away from dopamine drips. And here's what I want you to know: you've got to earn the dopamine. Go earn the dopamine in your real life. All right, I'll see you next time. Have an awesome night, everybody.